Welcome to the Coffee Talk Podcast. This is intended for informational purposes only and not to be used as a primary basis for investment decisions. Consult your financial professional before making investment decisions. Shannon Ross is a registered representative and MBA of Lighthouse Financial. Lighthouse Financial offers securities and advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisories Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Shannon is CEO and managing financial partner of Lighthouse Financial. Cambridge and Lighthouse Financial are not affiliated. And now, here's your host, Shannon Ross.
Well, welcome to today's broadcast of Coffee Talk, everyone. We are in remote settings today, trying something a little different on for size. And so welcome to our remote home session where you guys get to see into our home a little bit this morning. So
only the
welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
I like your cup. Hi. Nice to see you.
You like my what?
Cup.
Oh.
Your cup.
Oh,
your
my
mug.
cup. This is going real well. Thanks. I wanted to tell you good morning.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, my Alabama cup was dirty.
Well, what are you going to do?
Well,
good. Well, I wanted to try something different this morning, and our team has done an amazing job. So Matt and Kelly and Chris and everyone, thank you so much. We are talking about flexibility today, so we wanted to show kind of a real-life application of what can go well and what can be improved as you change things up.
Well, and I'm just going to go ahead and share with the audience, just to be transparent. What didn't work this morning is when I got the instruction to clap. So that should be an easy task. And we clap something to do with, I don't know, Matt and Kelly and all of their wisdom. And I know it's for a reason and a purpose. And my clap was just...
It was subpar. It was a little bit of a subpar clap. But then we both started clapping, and that was a no-no.
Matt's like, no.
Poor Matt. He herds cats with us every week, but that's
I know.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if you know this, Shannon, but earlier I clicked, when I was trying to get on, do the links or whatever, and you know how tech savvy I am. And so just the basic task of trying to sign in, I get all of your emails. You know that, right? Okay. Uh-huh. And so you have a meeting coming up. I'm not quite sure what day it is, but it's a Microsoft Teams meeting, and and I happened to go to that one. That's where I was sitting this morning. I was thinking nobody had showed up yet. It was
it was only you, but
just me.
Here we all are, everyone. So
I know.
Good morning.
This is fun. I like this. I'm in my basement. It's a little cold. You should know because
it is cold in your basement.
It's cold.
It's pretty.
Well, if I was upstairs, it would just be mass chaos between my dogs barking and my husband working. However, I was prepared to be cold, so I wore this sweater that I just got. It's new. And I kind of look like a linebacker.
Well, it looks like it has shoulder pads, but it does not. Right? But no, it's all the rage now. Anything from the 80s, my daughter is now all into Doc Martens again, which were 90s. Yep. With the whole Stranger Things phenomenon, which season 4 is coming.
Love it.
In 2022. Yep. But yes, so she keeps, shocking me with what her fashion style is now. And I'm like, that's a throwback for sure.
Yeah, and I hate 80s style. People love it, and I'm not an 80s fan.
I don't think I can go back. I don't think I can go back there.
No.
But, so we'll see. But I'm in my office. You can see I have, my love for horses.
The horse.
So I have a horse. White horse head in the back. So
I like it.
This is my quiet space. So.
Well, speaking of horses,
I
sent me
a
picture
April,
yesterday.
This week, a sanity spend that I want, but no one approves. It's a horse that's so pretty. She's
pretty. Very pretty, and I love her name.
I know. Her name is Faith, and she's gorgeous, and she only lives a few miles away. But
she's a deal. Did you explain that to your husband? I'm assuming that's who gave you that.
I don't have anywhere to keep her, so that's where your family comes in.
I happen to have a barn.
It takes multiple husband approvals, which...
Well, when soon that we're all going to need to hang out, and you know that if you talk to David in person...
I can put pressure on him a little bit better in person.
You're better at that than I am. So, I'm just saying, we should hang out soon.
I know, we will. Well, thank you for being flexible this morning, because our show's title is Beyond Flexed. So today, flexibility is a big topic that we're going to cover, and it's just kind of hit this week, and which is a good week for it to hit, and so we had to be flexible, and we wanted to turn the show into a remote show just to kind of test its capabilities, and it's great. Mm-hmm. So, as we continue on EQ, flexibility is the first skill set in distress management. So last week, if you remember, we finished up decision making. We spent a lot of time there because of all the decisions upon us every day, every week for the last 2 years. Right. And it doesn't seem to slow down because COVID's not slowing down and lives don't slow down.
No. So. The decisions that used to be so easy.
Oh, I know.
Are not easy anymore.
No, they're not.
Stress tolerance is very applicable for me.
I know. So today, decision making we finished up. This week we go to stress tolerance, and I do like these too because I do feel like they're super practical. Mm-hmm. And they're a little bit more intellectual in terms of what you can do to just be thinking about how to improve in them. It's really hard. It takes more time, I think, to improve your self-perception, to improve your self-expression, those kind of, because they're really deeply rooted type of things that come from your whole life and self-worth. And topics that are not superficial at all. Right. And so with decision making and stress management, they're more external factors, right? They're more our approach to the world. Mm-hmm. So I do believe, given some tips and study and just being cognizant of them, I feel like we have more potential to make a change, to make a tweak. And we talked about that last week of taking a pause, taking a breath. When we have that impulse control roaring, wanting us to act. And so today we're going to tackle flexibility and stress tolerance. So do you think you're flexible? Do you feel like
we covered this last week?
I know. I'm giving you an opportunity to redo your answer.
Oh gosh, I'm knocking stuff over here. It's already gone south. I think it depends on the situation. I think I can be, like you said last week, I can roll with the punches to a certain point. Sure. And it depends on the type of situation. I think in my work life, I can definitely be more flexible. Yeah. But in personal life, there are certain types of changes and things that can come my way that I don't necessarily, and it depends on if it's a high stress situation. Yep. And I need to be flexible. I tend to paralyze.
Okay. Like freeze.
Yes.
Remember freeze tag from school?
Oh my God, that was such a fun game. Fun. I know. Did our kids ever play
freeze tag? Kids don't play any outdoor games anymore, hardly. I mean, that was especially with COVID.
That's true.
Freeze tag's actually perfect though because
it's a non-touching game. Yeah, they should bring freeze tag back.
Freeze tag. Yeah, I know.
Anyways, what about you?
I hear you.
What about you?
I feel like I get more. I can be rigid, thinking my way is the best way sometimes because I think of my stubbornness, and so I think that tends to limit my ability to be flexible. Or if I get tired, I'm just like, no, like I'm done accommodating everyone else. I just want it the way I want it.
I want it my way.
Just give it to me. It's how I get when I'm like in my 3-year-old mind.
I've never seen you that way.
It's usually behind closed doors by myself.
I was joking.
Oh.
Yeah, that was not. See, we're not in person, so you didn't pick up on that.
No.
That was a joke.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Ha-ha.
Anyways, ha-ha.
Ha-ha. Well, so flexibility, everyone knows what flexibility means. And it's really, how well do we adapt? And I do believe those of us who adapt well certainly feel like they win at life a lot more easily.
Because for sure.
Anything that's, the only thing to be expected is change. That's just this world and the tempo in which it turns. Mm-hmm. And so as I prepared for flexibility today, I was actually one of my favorite topics, and I think we've mentioned it a time or two on this show, But sometimes it's hard for people to understand or even think about, like, okay, well, if I love change or if I hate change, I think a lot of people are out there probably on that I don't really prefer change side. Because we get comfortable. We like predictability.
Well, it makes you uneasy. Change can make me very uneasy to where
we get routines.
I just want to keep it the way that it is because I feel safe and stable when I'm in something that I can predict and control.
Well, and sometimes good is good enough. Like we prefer good because we know it. It's the known.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
That's like my motto.
Anticipation of the unknown. Because we always, I think just human heart condition is we kind of always anticipate bad.
Yeah.
As the unknown. Like, I'd rather pick the enemies I know than the enemies I don't.
Well, it's true because, again, there's that control factor. I think for those that struggle with being more controlling, which can be me, and if you're low on the problem solving side, and we haven't gotten to optimism because I know that that's coming, but I think that feeds into this as well. Changes, I meet certain changes with a lot of, I'm timid, trepidation.
Yeah.
This is working. Why do we need to shift this a different way? Because this is familiar and comfortable. So I'm willing to settle for this. You're telling me that this might be better change, but since that's an unknown, and I loathe anticipation. Unless it's fun anticipation, like a New York trip from last week, or that we talked about last week.
Yeah.
But other types of anticipation, like that's actually when I go into my shell. Like
you brace for impact.
I do. Yeah. It's a coping mechanism that I pull away from everybody, and I just that's a great way to put that. I had never thought brace for impact. Mm-hmm. So you can probably all guess where my optimism was. Again, we'll talk about that later.
Well, but how many times, and I want all the listeners out there, like think of a time in your life that you're willing to be vulnerable and try something new, try something a different way. It more times than not actually can improve. You get better results. It's a little, it brings into the great, not just good. Because the enemy of good, the enemy of great is good, and good enough, settling. Like if we're willing to push through into the deep waters, that's oftentimes where we find what we've always wanted, because we're willing to risk it, we take a chance, and we're willing to embrace change. And I think those that embrace change definitely have, not life beat, because life is still life, but they can definitely surf on the waves instead of getting, bombarded by the waves.
Yeah.
And so,
I think the emotions, I would assume, and I think the first composite, you call it something different, but the self-regard, self-perception, self-actualization, I think that when you are resistant to change, and especially certain types of changes, you are hesitant, and your hesitation is emotionally fueled, and there's got to be, and again, I'm talking about some certain types of changes that link back to where you are on the self-regard and self-actualization scale. Yeah. Because if you're low in those areas and you're met with an opportunity of change where your hesitation and your emotions are going to go, I don't trust this. I don't feel this way about myself, and so I don't think that change is going to be beneficial for me.
Well, you don't have any confidence going into that change.
That's it. That's what self-confidence. There's none there, and so again, it's better just to feel safe. Let's just not rock the boat, and let's just stay right here. But we miss out.
We do miss out.
We do. You miss out on so many opportunities that really can be great.
Well, what's really fun about the flexibility piece, because I do believe there is something, some of these, it's like, man, it just feels like I'd have to move a mountain to try to change it. Mm-hmm. But with flexibility, because of how our brains are wired, and we're going to go a little bit into brain science for a second, is there's actually, our brains, believe it or not, and you all have heard this before, so I'm not telling you anything new, but our brains are wired to renew themselves, to change, to really come in line with change. And it's called neuroplasticity. And so
I love that word.
Say it again. I do too. Neuroplasticity. And it's the brain's ability to restructure or rewire itself when it recognizes the need for adaptation. So in other words, it can continue developing and changing throughout life. So like our brains are built to do this. And so if we think about it, if it's built to do this and we say, whoa, we're kind of denying how our brain chemistry is set up to work.
Oh, that's a good point.
And so I was doing some research on, you know, some fun ways, some easy ways, not like moving mountains, intimidating ways, but what are some ways to help us with our neuroplasticity, some fun ways of how do we get our brains to move in this direction so that we can grow in this area so that change might not be so hard when it's a harder life topic. And so here are I have 6 ways to rewire your brain. And it is actually kind of funny. And I sent this to you last night.
Yeah, I read it.
I think the number 1 was the funniest one. So number 1 of these tips, and it comes from Healthline Magazine. But in order to, you know, these are things that you can do at home. But this is, you know, researched by neurologists and so on and so forth. And again, this is all in
this number
fun.
1 threw me for
I know.
Yeah.
And it's all in moderation. So don't think of like what your kids are doing sometimes if they're spending hours and hours and hours day after day doing this. Yeah. But number 1 on this 6, how to rewire your brain at home, was to play video games. Video games. That it helps with motor coordination, visual recognition, spatial navigation, memory, reaction time, reasoning, resilience, and cooperation. Now, it also only suggests 16 hours total, not in one sitting.
I was like, in a lifetime or in a moment? Like, that's a long time.
Because I think probably for adults, it's not like, I don't know many adults. I know a couple, but I don't know many adults that like play video games in their normal life. There's probably more adults that play games on their phone, which I think would also
for sure.
Be similar.
Would it really if it's like Candy Crush? I mean, are you really having to? My mom, I love you, Mom, addicted to that game. She's on like 1,355,622 level. Like, she loves it. Now, I am a big fan of Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, on your phone or on a console?
I don't think you can play Super Mario Brothers on your phone. Can you?
I don't know.
No?
I don't play games. I don't know.
We have the Wii. I haven't played it in a long time. But my son, you know, he's got the Xbox, whatever, you know, like your kid, the PlayStation, whatever.
Yeah.
And so they have those games that look like real human people. It's crazy, the graphics. I'm like, no, like the Wii Super Mario Brothers, love it. So every now and again, probably once a year, he'll play Super Mario Brothers with me because it's totally nostalgic for me.
That's so cute.
I love Super Mother.
See, I get intimidated with the controllers these days. I feel like when the Wii came out, that was a little bit more my speed.
Sure.
But like having to like maneuver all the buttons and I'm like,
on the Xbox, I know. Well, I try to play Madden with Eden every now and then, and I'm like, wait, like, he's like, Mom, you have to push this, hold down, and push forward at the same time. I'm like,
I have a hard time loading my password in the Wi-Fi password when I have to connect to their console.
I know. But you know, our parents probably thought the same way when video. I remember my parents going, how do you know? I'm like, oh, it's just no big deal.
But again, this, I think why it shows, because younger brains attach this even quicker. So you see your kids with computers and controllers. There's no problem there. And so I think it's, again, something to help remind our brains, hey, you're reprogrammable. You can do this. You can actually learn how. So I thought that was a fun one. So the first one was play different video games. And it suggested different games do different things. But again, it said 16 hours, not at once. So we don't condone gaming for hours a day, days on end. Yeah. Number 2 was learning a new language. I've had this on my bucket list for years and years.
Not
I
surprising.
get gifts of Rosetta Stone or whatever. I've done nothing. It's really, I would love to do this.
Well, do you want to hear a funny brain story?
Yes.
I'll make it fast because I know okay, so in that realm, so this is so weird. I don't know if I've ever told you this story. Okay, so I was 17, I was going through chemo, right?
Yeah.
And one day, I was on a treatment of 4 different regimens, whatever, doesn't matter. And after one of my treatments, I woke up one day and I was talking funny. And my mom was like, what the, and anything funny happens, you go straight to the hospital, right? And so they admit me, because they didn't know if maybe, like, is there something really right? There wasn't. But over a span of probably 12 hours, I went from good old Texas girl to full-on British. Like, you would not have known me. I mean, and now I knew I wasn't British. Like, I knew I was from Texas. It's not like I took on some alternate personality. But I was the doctor, so they're recording me and they're doing all this stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And what was interesting is they said there are a handful, and I'm sure by this point in 2021, there's more than a handful. But at that point, there were a handful of studies of people who had changed complete languages overnight.
My goodness.
Like, they went from a language they didn't even know.
Wow.
Now, like, I at least was still speaking English. And I know I didn't go from like English to, Dutch or German. And so it was, and I was like that for several weeks, and the doctors didn't know, like, will you ever go back to normal? And one day my mom and I were somewhere and a lady heard me talk. She's like, oh my gosh, where are you from? I'm like, Irving, Texas. And she looked at me like, you smart, you know what, child. My mom's like, oh, no. Like, she really is from Irving. Come on. I was like, bald. Clearly I'm not like trying to make this up, but that lady looked at me so funky, but sure enough, like your brain can do that.
That part of the brain was being activated for whatever reason.
I think like 2 weeks later, one night, my mom and I were, laying in bed watching a movie, and all of a sudden my voice just went in and out of British, Texan. And then like the next morning I woke up and I was 100% back to Texan. Not the Texan is it, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Completely back to my normal voice. And
that's amazing.
Can you believe my mother never recorded me? I love you, Mom.
Well, back then there wasn't that many things to record you on back then.
I'm sure it's somewhere.
There was like their answering machine, maybe, but that's it.
I'm sure Dallas Children's has the archives of it somewhere. But isn't that but your brain?
Gosh. Yeah.
And they assume that it's because I watched. They're like, what did you watch like a week before you had this treatment? And I had watched Sarah Ferguson on Oprah Winfrey, and my brain just something.
A switch was activated.
So I wanted to bring that up today because I'm like that. It's true though that your brain is that powerful.
It is. It is, and how much doing some of these activities, and we've seen it, in different areas of research, and people who do Sudoku puzzles or things to like stimulate the brain to improve memory functions and to improve motor skills and attention and all those kind of things. So learning a language or practicing a British accent helps you.
Now I can't do one to save my life, but
we should make a challenge. Like, you should try to do a show in your British and see what comes back.
Sure. Yeah, maybe the muscle memory. My brain will latch onto that. My husband would love that.
Oh, well, number 3. I love that story, by the way. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome. And it's funny that you married a man who loves Britain.
Loves.
That is actually, I think, there's not a coincidence there somehow. I don't know how that works, but anyway.
Full on addiction with the Queen. Absolutely. Yes.
Number 3, make music. So music is that, again, a really right brain stimulator. It helps you with mood, ability to learn and remember new information, concentration, and focus. Music therapy is something that is used a lot in both kids, in different educational programs, in older adults who have kind of declining cognitive abilities. And so learn an instrument. I have a piano in my dining room that I got like 8 years ago as a Christmas present. Still working on that one.
I don't think I've ever seen you sit there.
I think I did for the first few months. I got it.
Oh, you did?
I did. I even took lessons again because I took it as a kid, so I took it again. Yep. It's been a while.
That's pretty.
I know. It holds my wreath and mirror really well.
It does.
So I'm sure you all have musical instruments in your house somewhere that brush off the dust. Yeah. 4, travel. Travel is good. Little
Amen
hard in the
that.
COVID season. Yep. And then number 5 is exercise, which we've talked a lot about exercise.
About that. Yep.
So there are your 6 ways to rewire your brain that are easier than others.
Isn't there a book called Rewire Your Brain? Am I making that up? Did Caroline Leaf do a book?
Caroline Leaf does a lot because she's a PhD level. And so neuroplasticity is one of the topics. She really goes into depth. Yeah. And I think it's Rewire Your Brain. I think actually we have a link on our website.
Don't we have that? Yeah.
For that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is amazing. I mean, we probably just as adults, I feel like we get so tied into just getting through each day, getting kids to school, getting work done. We lose kind of the self-care. I think neuroplasticity could be a part of self-care because it just helps. it helps our ability to adapt and change.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I think as
play
we get
video
older,
games, everyone. You heard it here.
Play video games.
My son Andrew's going to be like, see, Mom, you said I could play this video game.
He's going to love this YouTube this podcast. Well, I think as we get older, we get so busy, we stop learning.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. And I love to learn. There's got to be something too about like even enrolling in classes. If there's a certain topic you want to study, I always think about doing that.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and the tie-in, when you try something new and you attach positive emotions to like small successes in that new area, because anything new is uncomfortable, right? Because you're not good at it, you're learning it, you fumble your way through it. Yeah. But attaching that positive reinforcement, that's part of the process that helps you embrace change over the long haul. So hey,
there you go.
We can all get better, you know. I only said first time. Look at me.
Oh, I don't have my pen to keep the tally marks.
And if you're too high in flexibility, you can imagine you'll do anything. You'll be like, hey, sure, is your lifetime motto. So, which is not necessarily good. So I guess there is a being too high in flexibility. I don't think most of the listeners of the show, nor us, will ever push that limit. But
no,
it's out there. It exists somewhere.
Is it?
Because you may lack conviction, so you're always just kind of.
Oh, you might be wishy-washy.
Or a thrill seeker where you're always just like, sure. Like you'll try anything, and that could become dangerous. Obviously,
that's true. That may lack some wisdom.
And you struggle to commit something to something to its completion. So you might have lots of projects that are halfway finished throughout your house or whatever, so those are just signs. Too low, we already talked about, like being rigid, being fearful to try something new, really, allowing your routine to never change. And no one wants that. We fall into that, I think, pretty easily. Mm-hmm. But
I don't like mine to change.
I know. I do to a certain point, but we can all.
I do if it benefits me.
If you're incentivized properly, you can change real quick.
Absolutely.
And I can understand that.
Yeah.
So, stress, and you can see how in stress management. So think about when you are feeling stressed, when you are feeling like life is closing in, each day is becoming harder. It's like walking through cement instead of skipping in a meadow somewhere. But when you're sledging through that cement and it is stressful and it is hard, stress tolerance comes into play with flexibility. And so as we close the show today, we'll get back into stress tolerance tomorrow because I don't want to rush through it because you can think of stress tolerance. That's very important because it involves just that coping. What are we doing to cope with stress, cope with difficult situations, believing that we can manage it, influence it in a positive way. Like it's not just happening to us.
Right.
I think where we see our kind of dark versions of ourselves come to fruition sometimes is when we become victims, when we're like feel powerless, when we feel impending doom, when we feel dread about the future. These kind of things is you don't feel like you have a lot of tolerance. You don't feel like you can cope. You don't feel like you can change things around.
Right.
And so I really want to spend time there next week on that. But before we wrap up our remote and flexible show, you can see Beyond Flex. So all of those exercises we gave you is part of the mental muscles we should all be working out. Mm-hmm. But before we go,
what?
How can people check this new show out on our different platforms?
Well, Shannon, I swear, I say that every week. I'm going to get in the hang of this. Okay, so we are here every Thursday morning addressing your questions, issues. We're discussing important and fun topics. I know you're already giving me the face, like read through it, lady. Let's go. You know me. I am, flexibility. I have a script.
Are you rigid? Do you read through lists often? Do you...
Okay, just don't interrupt my flow. You can find us, like I had one. You can find us on our website at, what is that?
Twiddling your thumbs.
What is that? Why? Why would I twiddle my thumb?
I'm twiddling my thumbs.
Oh, because you're bored? And you're waiting for me.
I'm sorry, I will stop interrupting you. I'm just I'm just teasing you.
Just killing
I can't be in the studio with you. I gotta be some
I know,
kind
that's
of
true.
sassiness.
But you're killing my mojo. There you go. Sip it. You can find us at copytalkpodcast.com. We are revamping the website. I know we mentioned it last week, so it will be changing. But we've got all kinds of links and resources that we are constantly developing. You can go to our Instagram page, leave us a message, a comment, like us. What should they?
Please subscribe.
Well, I'm not there yet. Subscribing
I
is
can't
YouTube.
see your list. I don't know where we're on it. It's almost Friday.
Okay, just so you know, at the end, let me show you what this says. This says go silent, and that's Shannon's cue. Okay, so why don't you wait till I'm silent? All right. Okay, so on our Instagram page, they can't subscribe there. They follow us. So what should we tell? What should their comments be? What could be a good hashtag? What do we want people to send us? How do they cope with...
Maybe how they're going to renew their brain this week. What are they going to do?
I like that. So send us your comments, your message on our Instagram page. We have a Facebook page. And now you can find us on YouTube where you can subscribe, ring the bell. There you go. See, we don't have our bell today.
I know. I have a backup bell. I forgot to bring it into my office.
I don't like that we don't have a bell. We're going to have to figure that out for our remote shows. But yeah, like us, subscribe, click the bell. We're so thankful for our listeners. Please tell your friends. We're so grateful that we get to engage with you. And now I go silent. Shannon, that's your cue.
Thank you for joining, and we'll see everyone next week.
I'm terrible at this.
You did great. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
This is intended for informational purposes only and not to be used as a primary basis for investment decisions. Consult your financial professional before making investment decisions. Shannon Ross is a registered representative and MBA of Lighthouse Financial. Lighthouse Financial offers securities and advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisories Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Shannon is CEO and managing financial partner of Lighthouse Financial. Cambridge and Lighthouse Financial are not affiliated.